We're a little early. I wanted to make sure everything was running right. So what's up, everybody? As soon as you hop in, let me know if you can hear me. I'm pretty sure you can, but just checking. Cool. What's up, Vincent? Appreciate you hopping on, man. So it's always a weird space for me with these live videos, because that weird space is like, let's give everybody a minute to get in, give everybody a minute, and it's like you just sitting there. But I get it. It's recorded, so those who don't hop in immediately will be able to hear it back later on. So, but like I said, I appreciate you hopping on, man. And I've got 3 different feeds running here. I can see the comments right here, so I'm gonna be looking here, but my camera is actually right here. I probably won't look there, but I'm right here. So if you have any questions, I believe you left a comment a couple days ago that I'm going to answer. But if you have any other ones, just drop them in there whenever you feel like it, because I'll be looking in and hopping out. So just drop them in there whenever you feel like it, or whenever they come to you, I should say. And I am going to, because listen, I'm not sure about you, but I've been in business a long time, and I get going when it's time to get going. I don't really do the late stuff, so I got about 60 seconds, and I'm gonna get this thing rolling here. I'm thinking, I've been trying to figure out how often I want to do this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it every Monday. I'm thinking like every Monday and Thursday, maybe. I was thinking originally like Monday and Wednesday, but I think that might be too close of a window. Sunday is really the day I want to do it, but you know, with family and stuff, it could get kind of hectic on a Sunday. But Monday night works really well. But I'm open to suggestions. So I'm thinking right now Monday and Thursday, or just Monday. If there's a big response, maybe 2 days a week, but at bare minimum every Monday. So let's get it rolling, man. Let's get it rolling. Just to give you a little background on me, because I haven't posted a video of my actual experience. I have been in the industry. I spent 15 plus years in the industry working in 10 plus working in corporate restaurants. I started my own concept in 2017, and built that out from there. But the vast majority of my experience comes from corporate restaurants. My wife, between the two of us, we probably are pushing 25 plus years as far as experience goes corporately. When I started my own food truck, I had no experience with food trucks, none. literally gained it on the actual food truck. But I'm not gonna act like I was just some rookie walking into the business. I had a lot of corporate experience, as I said. So I started in 1998 in a restaurant called Perkins. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of a restaurant called Perkins, but I started as a dishwasher there, and I was 17 years old. And about 30 days in, I don't know if I was crushing it with those dishes or whatever, but one of my managers came to me and said, hey, if you want, you can come on the line and flip some pancakes. So I was like, all right, if you've ever dished before, you know what kind of slop goes on back there, especially if there's bread involved in water. Like it's just a mess. So I said, okay, cool. So I went and did that, and but this was the summer going into my senior year. So I didn't work my senior year. I just did that for the summer. Once I got out of high school, I went back into restaurants because I had some experience there and I was comfortable. I was at Chi-Chi's. I'm sure you've all heard of Chi-Chi's before. I started working at Chi-Chi's. I went back to dishing again at Chi-Chi's. But I was dishing and I'm working and it's it's just 4, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. It's just a lot in the dish, steam and the food and the sprayer and all that stuff. But these servers would come back and they would come to my area and they would break out their little booklets, their little tablets, before tablets. This was a tablet before tablets with their little checks and stuff. And they just have all this cash just flowing out of it, just cash. Right. So I'm looking at them like, man, they just made more money tonight than I'm gonna make all week. And I'm the one back here wet and nasty. Right. So, I went to my manager. His name is Skip Lord. Every day I used to go to work, I used to say, praise the Lord. His name is Skip Lord. And I asked him, I was like, hey man, listen, you think I could go out there? But well, I'll give you a little background on me too. You think I could go out there and serve one day? But growing up, I was like really introverted. I wasn't the loud person in the room. I wasn't the most boisterous person in the room. So it was a challenge for me. But I was like, listen, I have to be a different person if I want to get what they're getting. So I have to figure out how to be a different person. So I'm not going to belabor this story because like I said, I'll make a video about it at some point. But so I started at Perkins, then went to Chi-Chi's, and then I was at a steakhouse, and then I moved from the city that I'm from, which is called Youngstown. I moved from Youngstown to Columbus. And then I started at a 5-star restaurant. Where we had a booklet we had to learn. It was a fish restaurant, and we had a booklet that was about that thick, and we had to learn literally every species of fish there is, and they tested us on it. No, we didn't serve every species of fish, and I have no idea why I get why they probably did it, but so I had to do that. I made it. There's about 200 of us in there. This was a restaurant. It was brand new. They built it. When I interviewed, the construction was taking place. Like it wasn't even done yet. So I made it. Got in, they knew that they would hire a bunch of people and it was shaved down on its own. People just quit, people go on to the next thing or whatever. But then they knew that they would have their essential final roster probably 2 weeks in. I can't remember how long it took before the core of us were really there. But there was really a core of us there that we really turned into being a family. And I'm skipping some stuff in between, but you get the point, right? And I got a lot of formal training there. I never had a real actual chef before until there. I had never even heard of a sous chef until I started working there. We had a pantry side that did salads and desserts, and then we had the chef side. Then we had a prep area in the back, and it just wasn't like that in some of these smaller chain restaurants. It just wasn't like that. We had aprons and crumbers. We had aprons in the other ones, but they were those little short ones, the black ones with the 3 pockets. These aprons we had came down to our ankles. Never seen those before. Collar shirts, Oxford. We had to wear Oxford shirts with the buttons. I mean, it was just that whole thing. Like it really trained me to really understand and experience that a customer has when they come to a place to actually spend some money. Because before I was just giving out chips and salsa and just regular stuff and going through the process. Hey, can I help? How are you doing? How can I help you? What can I get you? Just that. But it was just different, right? So I learned all that. And in 2017, I started my own concept. I developed my own concept. I had the truck built in Florida. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I had the truck built in Florida from scratch, developed the whole floor plan. I said, hey, I want this here, that there, that there, that there. We developed the floor plan. I never saw it. to be honest with you, I was building this truck in Florida, but I couldn't afford to get there to actually see it. Like I was just, it was that tight, right? So I'm just looking at it, and we're going back and forth. The design, developed the logo, developed the tagline, developed the colors between my wife and I, because she'll take some credit for some of this, which is fine. But so we both were had input on this thing. As far as the floor plan though, I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly what kind of food I wanted to serve. And I knew that once I can actually, if I can get through the process of putting this truck together, it was actually a trailer, but people, they hear food truck and they get it. So I always say food truck. If I can put this together and get on the road, I knew people would love it. I just had to be able to get it on the road. So I did that. And I'm giving you the long story short. But so the first year goes by, what I thought would take, I planned out a year's worth of marketing, people tasting it, trying it. I thought it would take a year for it to really start circulating, people to really start talking about me. It really only took 2 weeks. And I'm talking about my plan was for me to spend that year introducing myself, letting people try it, going here and there. And then eventually my inbox will start being flooded versus me reaching out to businesses and all that kind of stuff to want me out. It took like 2 weeks, man. And it just took off from there. So the first year goes by. I still stick to my plan though. I didn't deviate because people started to inbox me and say, hey, can you come out? We heard about it. Can you come out and feed? I didn't deviate from my plan. I still just want to spend that year introducing it. And we did that. And the second year though is when I was like, okay, let's really get out here. So fast forward, there's a big newspaper here. It's one of the big nationally known newspapers. It's called the Columbus Dispatch. Newspapers really aren't a thing anymore, but they were then, and they definitely were before that. But they have an award, city award every year. It's called the C-Bus top picks. Total shock to me. I had no idea. I had never heard of them before, but I made the top 5 in the C-Bus top picks my second year. The third year we made the top 3. I never got the number 1 spot, but listen, man, when I started there was 85 trucks in the city, and the year after I think there was like 90 something, and then after it was 110. So to have no experience at all on a food truck at all, to be top 3 to be top 5 my second year, to be top 3 my third year, I'll take it, right? So I started to pitch. I never really wanted to stay in the food truck. I was never, even though I'm teaching this food truck information now, I never planned on staying in my food truck forever, right? So I had the traditional thought process of start with the food truck, go to brick and mortar, franchise, and then whatever else happens after that. But I learned how I learned a hack, and it was an email hack, and I emailed people at Ohio State at the shopping center here where they play basketball. I also emailed one of the bigger malls here through that hack where I found some executive emails, and I emailed them and I told them, hey, I basically told them, like, I know you don't know who I am, but you should, and you should meet me, because this is exactly what the people who come to your place will want. And I don't know if the audacity of that really was like, well, I got to respond to this, right? So they had me out, one meeting, sold it, started to get stores. And like I said, I'm moving through this story pretty fast. First meeting, we go pitch the shot. What's that say? Should go meet, man. I should meet you, probably. I should meet you, Molly. Pitch a shot. We go, we cook the food and stuff. Immediately after they eat the food, he says, here's where I want you to open up shop. This is inside the shopping center where Ohio State plays basketball. Did the same thing with the mall. Did the same thing. And once I started getting into one place, I leveraged that place to the next one. I said, hey, I'm over here. They see it. You don't. You should. And if you don't, it's your loss. I mean, listen, man, what I got to lose, right? If they say no, it's just not a good time right now. Okay, all right, fine. And then we go on to the next one. But like, it worked. this is the same stuff that I'll show you guys how to do over time once you get through the process. But it matters, right? So I leverage one place into the next place into the next place. So then I've got the basketball arena, I've got the soccer arena. If you ever heard of Columbus Crew, got that done. The Columbus Clippers, they're the AAA team for what was then the Cleveland Indians, and now the Cleveland Guardians. Them, I was working on the football stadium, but the fire chief was giving me issues. He was saying he didn't want to add any more deep fryers into it, because I wasn't interested in sharing the place with somebody, so I wanted to have my own. And he was giving me issues. He didn't want to put any more deep fryers in the arena. There was already so many. Fire guy, he wants to be safe, that's fine. But so we were talking about that, and there was another one. I just started talking to the Detroit Lions too, and then COVID comes, and then like literally COVID comes because I changed my whole business model. Like I said before, I was looking to do the traditional thing, the franchise thing, but once I got into the shopping center, I said, you know what? To keep my margins high, my overhead low, if I come to these arenas and I set up shop, I can come in here for 4 or 5 hours. You know, when you go to a stadium, markups are high, and you're in there and you're out. I said, I can use this business model instead of being somewhere all day, 12 hours a day, which I actually did in the mall, and it was a disaster because of a handful of things. But I can come in here for 4 or 5 hours and sell something for $5 more than I would have normally, plus alcohol, plus there wasn't even any rent. We were just splitting what came in, which was perfect. COVID hits, I lose 4 stores and 1 press conference in an hour. All right, so this what leads me here. We were off if you remember COVID, everybody thought it was like a month or 2 thing. We were trying to figure out what it was. We didn't know. But I had a lot of people who will come to me on the street when I was on the street and say, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do that? And I just could give them like a quick little blanket answer. I couldn't really go too deep into it because I just didn't have the time. Like I had people in the line and I just didn't have the time. So I said, while I'm off, let me develop something that can help people get to their dreams, because they weren't just asking me this randomly. They actually wanted to start their own little thing, right? So I did that. I developed a course. The stuff that I'm showing you on YouTube now was an actual course that I had on another platform that I was selling for $3,000 to $4,000, right? And that's where to the very beginning, when I said I recorded my own story, I had it there. I didn't put it on YouTube yet. So this is just a quick little, this is just what was that, 12 minutes I just spent telling you that, but it's really like, I really could talk for a little while on that. But just to give you some context on who I am, what I've done, just so you know, I'm not just making this, well, I think you could tell about the stuff that I'm telling you, I'm not making it up, but just so you know that I'm coming from a place of knowledge, I'm coming from a place of experience. I'm telling you exactly what happened to me, what I learned, and what I know from all the other vendors that I know here where I am, and I know a lot of them. I'm literally in the process now. I don't know if you guys go back to the channel and you look at my shorts right now, I'm literally consulting on a truck right now as we speak. We're building a food trailer that's going to go and do really well. So I'm literally in the process of building a truck as we speak right now. So go check that out, because I'm doing those in little episodes. There are 5 up right now. My next one is going to be a little different than what the other 5 have been, but look for that tomorrow. So I had a question asked to me in the comments, and I think it was you, Vince. I'm pretty sure it was. And if it wasn't, I apologize. If it is, I apologize for not remembering, because I've just been all over the place today. But it was the pros and cons of this industry, and I get that quite a bit. I've gotten that quite a bit over the years, especially since I started this channel, because it's a fairly like I said, a common question, but it's an important question, and it's a good question, right? So I'm sure you Googled that before, and you've had a list of answers and stuff, but I'm going to tell you something that you probably haven't had on that list, right? Hold on. I'm going to tell you something you probably haven't had on that list, and that is the pros and cons are specific to you. All right, Vince, that's what I thought. I'm sorry. That's what I thought. I thought it was you. the pros and cons to this industry are really based off of what you want to do. So I actually wrote, I have 3 answers for both, just on a general level, but everybody's different, man. There's no one concept that's the same as another. You could sell chicken and fries the same way somebody else says chicken and fries, but there's something on there that you do differently. There's no black or white answer to that question. So the main reason why I'm doing these lives is because you need context. Like, you can't ask me that question in a comment and then I reply to it and it necessarily relate to what you're thinking and what you're doing. Because what you're doing is not the same thing as anybody else out here. It's like a fingerprint. You're different than everybody. Even if you're selling the same product, you have a different thought process. Some things are tweaked, some things are different. So the back and forth here on these lives is because I want you to get the context that you need for you. Not the same thing as I could tell you and him and her, and it's not the same thing. So there's a lot of back and forth that goes with that. But I've got 3 here. I've got 3 general answers. But the real answer is, what are you doing? What are you trying to create? What are the pros and cons based off of what's good for you? Because your pro might not be my pro and your con is not my con. It could be vice versa. We could agree on some things. It's not the same. So don't let anybody just give you a blanket answer. If you ask that question somewhere else, it's not the same. All right. So now if you are thinking about a concept that you want to do and something that you're thinking about, put it there because I can answer. Put it in the comments because I can look at that and I can ask you questions based on what you tell me so we can get to the answer for you, right? In the meantime, I'm gonna go over these little 3 generals for the piece because this is recorded. I'm gonna go over 3 generals that I have, and you know, it'll relate to a lot of people, but like I said, your situation is different. So real quick, and Vince, like I said, if you don't have it, fine. If you just, you know, we'll do this, like I said, once a week. Think about it and come back later. It's fine. Because these questions, you shouldn't be rushed. This should not be something that you just throw out there and like, you should think about this because it's important. What I do is I get people from A to Z with no money wasted, with no time wasted, none of that stuff. But you only get to that point if this is thought out. All right, so real quick, we're gonna start with the 3 pros and we'll finish with the 3 cons. So what I have down for number 1 is, one of the pros are you have direct customer interaction. And a lot of people might take that lightly, but what you need to realize is, and if you're not a people person, that's fine, but you got to get somebody who is, because your direct interaction with those people are why they come back. It's not because you're your food. It's not. People think it's the food so good and people come back with the food. They don't. They come back for the experience. I tell people who's coming to my truck, like, the food is free. You actually just pay for the experience. So the customer interaction you have, which I say on a lot of other videos, your actual customer experience is what gets people coming back over and over. Your food could be average. Your food could be nasty, right? But that experience is so good that you give them that it doesn't matter anymore. Or your food could be amazing, but your customer experience is trash. So then that customer experience that's trash makes the food trash too. You need to understand that. Just because you have good food does not mean that people are going to come back. It's not about the food, man. So you have the ability. One of the pros is you have the ability to manipulate. And I shouldn't even say manipulate, because manipulate has a overall bad connotation to it. You have the ability to influence people. How did that, when that person walked up, what was their first interaction with you? Was it through a smile? Was it rushed? What was it? Their interaction. There are, like I said, people fall in love with the taste of their food, but when you actually get to the food, you're done with the interaction. There are like 10 to 15 different things that happen before you get to the food. When I'm walking up to your trailer, or your food truck, I'm looking at it. What's it look like? Does it look clean? Does it look dirty? Does it look organized? Does it look crazy? That's the first customer interaction. The second one is that person who greeted me. Did they greet me? Yes, no. How was that greeting? What was the energy like? These are all things that are happening in their mind and in the customer's mind, and they might not even realize it. Think about when you go to McDonald's. Is it rushed? Probably. When you go to Chick-fil-A, does it feel rushed? Probably not. So these are every single part of this is a transaction, right? So now I got greeted by the person, he or she, right? Third, your menu, when I'm looking at your menu, is it confusing? Is it easy? Did I understand it? Because when I look at your menu and I got people behind me waiting, if I don't get it, I'm intimidated now because I don't want to be the one person who doesn't get it when everybody else did. Now I feel stupid. So how does your menu come across to people? Is it simple? Is it easy to understand? How many options do you have? Like all this stuff. And I can dig deeper into this, in a later video, but I don't, because this can go on for hours, man. So your direct customer interaction matters. It's one of the pros. I have it listed as a pro because you can directly control this. And like I said, if you don't have that, if you're not that person, get somebody who is that person. That bubbly person, that person who makes that person feel welcome will have that person come back 2-3 times. And then that person will also tell however many people they want to tell about their interaction at that truck that day. It matters. So your customer interaction, you can control that. That's one of the pros in my mind because it just really matters. I understand it can be easy for everybody, but you got to get somebody who is easy for. I don't know who that is, but you got to get them. Number 2, you have full autonomy with the menu. So if you want to experiment and do whatever you want to do, I don't know. And that's why I go back to saying this question is unique to you. It's not, there's no general answers to this because what are you going to do? You could do something that's just, you don't have to be super creative, but where are you in logistically? Like what's going on where you live? How many trucks are out there? What are they serving? What are they doing? Do you need to be super unique just to stand out, or can you just really hit it and nail it and not be too crazy, but not be too boring? So, right, this is when I say there's questions that need to be asked about what you're doing, but you have complete control over your menu, and you can experiment with things, and you can pull this off, you can put that on, and you can do a whole lot of stuff with your menu, but you have control of that, and that menu. The menu matters. It's not, depending on your experience, your customer experience, it can be a lot or it can be a little, but it does matter. What you're serving does matter because you want to have something that people want to come and get, because there's a lot of stuff out there, good and bad. I can trip over a decent hamburger out here. I mean, there's a lot of hamburgers. So like, your menu, like you get to control that. You get to be free on that. When it came down to my menu, what I did was I looked at the landscape, and then what I found was everybody was doing Asian barbecue, pizza, and there was another one. I found that everybody was doing that, and I was like, man, everybody's fighting over the same market share, and you're missing this one thing right here. And I hit it really good, and it worked. But everybody was just fighting over. So go out, go look at. I don't know if you have food truck festivals where you live. I don't know what type of festivals you have, but just go look and look at start to take notice of what you're seeing over and over and over again, and then who's winning in that market share, right? So you do. So go and take notes. What's going on? What's the customer experience like? What's the person who greeted me like? Look, take all this stuff and use all that to your advantage. What's everybody serving? What are they not serving? What are they missing? What could fit in here? And I'm not saying you have to be completely unique to what you're doing, but if you have some sort of twist, if you can, that's cool. If you can't, win with customer experience. I could sit right next to the person who is selling the same thing I'm selling, but win it with customer experience, win it with personality, win it with, what you do best. And trust me, you can make money. The third one is, and I'm sure you've seen this when you do Google searches on, different things, but, there are lower startup costs with a food truck or food trailer than there are in restaurants. This is not hard math to figure out. It's a smaller vehicle. You need less equipment. You need less staff. There's less overhead. There's, all that stuff is smaller because you're in a more condensed area. So, we all know that you're going to have some startup costs with this. If you think you're not going to, you're missing it here. But like, you're going to have some startup costs. You can minimize them with the food truck and the food trailer, but you can also still run a high risk there if you're not smart about what you're doing. If you're spending money that you don't need to spend money on, if you're buying things you don't need to buy. So like, I'll give you an example of myself, right? Like I said, I had no experience with a food truck or a food trailer. I had mine built brand new from Florida, and I'm in Ohio, brand new. I had I knew I needed 2 deep fryers because of what I was pumping out. I was pumping out French fries. I knew I needed 2 deep fryers. I had a flat top, which was, I needed that. I had a 4-burner stove with the full drop down, the full pull out. I thought I needed a stove, right? I had and I'm gonna give you the order. I had a steam table, 2 deep fryers. Actually, I had a steam table, like a little prep table where I had a microwave sitting on, deep fryer, flat top, stove. The steam table, I thought I was going to use to keep my fries warm. The table was just there for just to help me with just putting stuff, right? But I actually set my microwave there and actually used that, and I needed that space. Deep fryer, flat top, stove. I think I have a video. One of my videos, I have a picture of my my trailer on there. It's one of I can't remember which one. I never used the first day I opened, I used the steam table. Never used it again. The 4-burner oven I never used it one time. I used 1 burner because I had gravy on it. I used 1 burner. That whole oven, that probably cost me $2,500, $3,000. Never used it. Right? So I got probably a $2,000 steam table. I got a $2,000-$3,000 oven just sitting there. But I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And these are some of the things that I learned myself, that the people who I teach with this stuff, to nail down your menu and what you're going to use, so you don't have 2 big pieces of equipment sitting on your truck taking up space that you don't need. That $5,000 I could have put back in my pocket and use it for something else. I didn't know that this all goes into startup costs. I didn't know that gas lines were different in Florida where I had it built versus Ohio. So I had these little 10 gas lines that were running from my propane tank under. They came up through the floor and they ran across the bottom of my trailer through all the different units that needed it. I get it here to Columbus and I take it to the fire inspection. I get my fire inspection done, and they tell me I got to switch out all these pipes to get these dormant blue hoses. Right? And I had no idea, these flexible hoses. So what they want is you to be able to pull the equipment out, clean behind it, and put it back. Well, if I got these steel 10 hoses and I keep pulling it out and putting it back, they're gonna crack eventually, and I got gas running through there. So you know what happens with gas and fumes, and it's just poof, right? So they tell me I gotta switch it out. I go and I'm like, okay, but everything was brand new. They was like, man, this thing is beautiful. They literally said this. They were literally recording my trailer to show other people who own stuff, who were coming for inspections, about how it should look. But I had that one problem. And I thought it was a couple $100 fix. I was like, all right, cool, I'll be right back. I'll get this done. I'll fix it back. I thought it would be $200-$300. It was $2,000 just to switch out those hoses, because they had to unscrew everything from the floor, pull it out, change them. I mean, the hoses by themselves were $150 a piece, and I thought it was a $200-$300 for it all. Right? So these are the startup costs. Like I said, I can go on about this stuff all day, but these are the startup costs, things that go into stuff that it's cheaper, but if you make mistakes, it can be a problem. It's a pro because it's cheaper, but now we're going to go into the cons, which leads us right back into those costs. Let me flip my page here. So one of the cons are making mistakes on your startup costs. The number one cost that I have is making mistakes on your startup costs. And it's by not necessarily having all the information like I didn't have. I had nobody, I didn't know anybody. I had a friend, her name was Clara. She had a truck, but her truck had closed before I was even getting going. And her dad was really the person who was like really running that show. He was the chef on it. So like I really couldn't go to her with these questions. I had nobody. All I had was my experience on the actual running of the restaurant, but I didn't know anything about, I never had done this before. So I lost on that. I had a couple setbacks like that. I got through them and got on the road, but you know, this is stuff like if you have to really hone in on what you're trying to do and understand what you need for what you're selling. You don't want to have stuff on there that you don't need for what you're selling. That stove that I had on there, I could have got 2 induction burners that I actually had in my store at the shopping center. I could have got 2 induction burners with some induction pots and just had those things sitting on a table that would have got everything I needed done. It's a simple plug into my 120 volt plugs. But I got a whole stove here. It was an Imperial stove. I got a whole Imperial stove here. Nice. It was just sitting there. But I had 2 induction burners that I love those things. I still have them today, right now. I still have them. I love them. I love them. But I could have had 2 induction burners for $120 a piece. And I could have just used that to put that gravy on there, heat that thing up, plugged it in, boom, and been done. Right? So it's a con because I have it listed as a con because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to spend a lot of money that you don't have to. And some people think that they can get into this without really spending anything. It's just not possible, people. It's not, you know, I tell people if you, and I'll probably go into this deeper into another live. I talk people out of going into actual food trucks. I talk people into food trailers for a certain reason. And it's because of the liability of the actual food truck that you're using, how old it is, how many miles it is, and how they break down. Tonight, we don't have the time on it. I don't want to keep you here all night. I'm gonna do a live on that. And the actual, if you go and look at my shorts right now, it's a trailer. It's a trailer for a reason. And it's a trailer because I explained to them about why they should go trailer versus an actual truck. And it's on a macro scale. It's not a micro fix. It's going big macro. I'll explain that. But I just want people to understand that I have this as a con because people really think that they can get into this like penny pinching really. And you might be able to get it going by penny pinching, but it's a short-term thing. It's really a short-term thing. This stuff, traveling through the road, and I mean, this stuff takes a bit of a beating. I'm not saying go top of the line with everything, because I don't think you should do that. But as much as you can with that vehicle, spend it. Like, if you have to wait a year, wait the year, and get the best thing you can get, and save up. Like, wait. Do not. There's nothing. You're not gonna miss your opportunity because somebody else came, and you're not gonna miss it. Trust me when I tell you, you're not gonna miss it. You've been going this long and it's not started, and trust me, you still have the opportunity. You're not gonna miss it if you wait. Just be smart about it. Don't make the mistakes. As much as I don't want to have the shameless plugs, just watch my videos, man. I'm gonna tell you what not to do and what to do. Do not rush into buying whatever it is because you can, when you can do better in 6 months. And that was a lesson for me. I was the same way. I'm not talking from, like I said, I'm not talking from inexperience here. Like, I missed on a couple things that were important. So I'm, just understand. One of the cons are people think that they can not spend what they need to spend to do what they need to do. Big scale. And then when I say big scale, it's not mean 10, 20 trucks or whatever. I mean just for operating for 3 years without any real issues. That's what I mean by big scale. Because you could be out there for 3 or 4 months and one thing happened, a fryer goes down, or your ant box blows up and you can't replace it, you're out of business, man. Take your time, be smart about it, and get the people in there who can get you the things you need. So that's one. Two, one of the cons are people, depending on your strategy, one of the cons are how long the hours can be. I have a video about it's being mobile or stationary. This video explains the difference between the hours you choose to work per day. The normal mindset is to go and park your truck or your trailer and be there from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. or whatever. It's to be there all day. That's fine, but how many days in a row are you going to do that? And where do you live? Are you going to be busy enough to be parked somewhere for 12 hours a day? Because your utilities start to run out. The gas in that generator burns. That propane in those propane tank burns. Can you swap them out? I doubt it, because that stuff's all mounted to the trailer. You got to get it refilled. You got to take it somewhere. Like you need to understand and choose strategically, how are you going to run your service and for how long. It's really important. Some people, like we were in New York, we went to it was a year ago now. I think it was a year ago. We went to Brooklyn, and we went to a Brooklyn Nets game, and the people pulled up with the food trucks and stuff. They were there before the game and they were there for after the game, but I highly doubt they were there all day. So they had enough to pump for 6-7 hours between, they probably got there an hour or two before the game and stayed an hour or two after the game, pumping. They were out, but they were not there for 12 hours a day, because it just wears on your equipment, and you have to choose. You have to be really smart about your strategic placement. Am I going to be here for just a lunch? Am I going to be here for just a dinner? Am I going to be here for both? Am I going to go to one place and then go to another place? It's all unique to you, right? You gotta understand what you're doing when it comes to this, because of your utilities. I've run out of gas at locations and had to leave, and I filled up and came back, and the service was over. Lunch was over, and once again, I'm talking to you from experience, like. And I don't know at the time what would have really helped me if I could have had a meter on my propane tank that could have told me where it was at that moment. So I know, like, at the start of the service, I'm only halfway full. This is not going to work. I need more. They didn't have, and like I said, I don't know if they have those now. This was in 2017, 2018, 2019. They didn't have those meters that could tell you where your propane tank is. I would have to feel it. And there's a code line that'll tell you once it's running. There's a code line that shows, but before it's running, you don't know. Once it's running and it's working, there's a code line that shows exactly where it is. Well, at that point, once it's running, I'm on location. You know what I mean? So you get your strategic plan has to be in place on how am I going to work today, or if you want to make it every day, how am I going to work this? What do I need? So all this stuff. These days can be long if you want them to be, and a part of the reason why I switched my business plan when I told you at the very beginning that I went to I shifted my business model for the stadiums and stuff. A lot of this came into it, where I know for a fact this game starts at 1. We're gonna be out of here at 4:30. I need to be here at 11, and I'm out of here at like 5:30. Plus the markup, plus the alcohol, plus it was a no-brainer. But a once in a lifetime, a once in 100 years virus shoots through it, like, so the hours, back to my original point number 2, the hours can be long, but it depends on your strategic strategy of how you're going to do this. We can talk about it, because there's a strategy to it. We can talk about it, and I've developed one, so I can give you that. But today's probably not the day. I only want to give you like 10 more minutes. I don't want to keep you on here all night. Lastly, one of the cons, unique to you. Where are you situated? What's the market saturation like? Are you in like New York or LA, where there's food trucks up and down streets everywhere? Are you in a place where I have a client now where there's nothing, and we're gonna go and blow that whole thing up because there's literally nothing there? Are you in a city like me, technically right now where I'm sitting, where there's probably 115 trucks roaming around on the street every day or at least weekly? Where are you? What's the market saturation like? If you're in a place where it's heavily saturated, you're going to have to figure out, how can I separate myself from these other people? You're only going to really know that by getting out there and seeing what they're doing, taking notes on what they're doing, what they're not doing, because trust me, there's a lot more average trucks out there to below average trucks that have no idea what they're doing than there are elite trucks. Believe me, there are some elite trucks out there, but there are not a lot of them. And those elite trucks, you can see they got the lines, and they got, you can have a line, but that doesn't mean you're giving good service. They got the lines, plus their ticket time is turning. You're getting in and or out. What's their floor plan like? Does the floor plan work to get it out? Or are they bumping into each other unorganized? And it's just you can look at that stuff and see it. Elite trucks have a floor plan and a workflow that works. Trucks that are just out there and just hoping for the best are just all over the place. Their stuff is everywhere. You can look in the truck and see stuff everywhere. If they're frying something, you see flour everywhere. You can see the employees are frustrated. You probably walked up and that person on the other side of that window did not greet you welcomingly. They probably didn't. Your energy was bad and you felt it right from the start. But you've been waiting in the line for 20 minutes. Like, listen, I've been waiting for so long. I'm not gonna not get food from here. But you also say, I'll probably never come back in that moment, just like that, right? So this is what goes into what I was talking about before, customer experience. But what's your market saturation like? I don't know. Personally, I don't know, because unless you tell me, I don't know. And if you tell me, then we could talk about that and work on that. But I don't know. So, look at that, size it up. If it's heavy, how can because I highly doubt you're going to move. If or you could drive outside of that market and then just, but that's a long drive. And that goes back to number 2 with those long days. If you want to drive 45 minutes to an hour outside of where you are, you can. And maybe where you live, that's not that big of a deal because you do it all the time. But if it is, you can, but that goes back into those long days. So, you need to look at those things, size them up. Where am I? You said, have I noticed that with food trucks? I don't know. Give me some more on that. But you need to look at those things, size them up, look at what's going on, and then who's selling what. And how many people are selling that same thing? There's a lot of ramen. I think that's probably what I missed when I said that fourth one. There's a lot of ramen. Ramen was really taking off back, and it might have been before, but it was really growing back in 2017, 2018 when I originally opened up. Barbecue, Asian, ramen, pizza, all that kind of stuff was really taking off. So there's an opening for you somewhere. A lot of carts do hot dogs and stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't necessarily dig too deep into those because they're really there's no carts are really just really in that little square, that little block radius. They're not really anything to really, unless you want to pull up right next to them, unless they're in an area where it's really busy at one given time. But you can just go across the street and set up if you have a cart. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But but take notice though. Look what's going on, because saturation matters. It really does. I was able to figure out something that nobody else was doing, and something that people weren't really looking at, and exploit it. But there were a lot of people out there, Mexican tacos, they were fighting over the same stuff, man. Just fighting over it. And I'm not really sure how it worked out for them, but they were fighting over it. So those are my 3 cons and 3 pros. I tried to There are some that are kind of run of the mill, but I tried to find a couple that are a little bit different. But when it all boils down to it, it's really unique to you and based on what you're trying to do. So these things are a really big deal once you actually get out there, and even if you go and talk to people, go like food truck owners are really, some cities might be different, but where I am, even though we were all working and doing our own thing, we were kind of a family unit. You know, we all worked together. We all fed each other for the most part. There were a couple of trucks who were like, you know, a little silly about it, but we all made friends. We all fed each other. We all tried to help each other because the community as a whole is better if we're working together than it is if everybody's like, no, don't, you know, everybody's being aggressive towards each other. Like nobody really wins that way. We had a whole Facebook group together and stuff like that. So we try to take care of each other, because if we take care of each other, trust me, everybody's gonna get what they came in here to get. So if anybody has any questions, just drop them in there. Like I said, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I'm gonna go about 10 more minutes, make it a smooth 60, and come back next week with a different topic to talk about. But I've got a lot more, man. I've got a lot more. It's just really starting here and just breaking it down. It's a reverse engineering. Like you might start with all these questions or whatever, but if you start here and build out, you start to really get the full picture of what's really going on out there, and you can be successful. But you just have to understand that this retail food is not I like to cook. I like to anything. This retail food is churn and burn. So let me also tell you something that a lot of people may not realize, real quick, and probably lastly. When I talk about customer experience, there's a different expectation when you come to a truck than when you go to a fast food restaurant or you go to a regular sit down restaurant. You're viewed as a food truck more in the fast food lane than you are in the sit down at a restaurant lane, right? I've been in many food truck lines at food truck festivals, and people are waiting for, and it wasn't even busy. I'm not talking about like 45 people waiting in line. I'm talking about like 5, and they have no idea how ticket times affects people's overall experience. I tell people, for every 1 minute you wait, it feels like 5. So think about that. Every 1 minute I wait in this line, past my initial, hey, what's this? Past my initial excitement, right? Every 1 minute that I wait, it feels like 5 on my body. And so you can just do the math on 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, right? So my ticket times were what I did. I figured out how to really get it going. Man, my ticket times were less than 60 seconds. I know everybody can't do that, and everybody won't efficiently think like that, but nobody waited longer than 60 seconds. And sometimes I work my truck by myself. And I'm not joking. I'm not playing. Like I'm dead serious, because I figured out a formula how to get my stuff out. And you need to figure out a formula how to get your stuff out that window. People do not. A lot of people are on their lunch breaks, there are different times in the day where people will wait longer. On lunch, you got to get that stuff out of there, man. On dinner, they'll give you an extra, because they're off work, they're relaxed, they might be with their kids, they'll give you an extra couple of minutes, but they're not gonna give you forever, right? You better get that food out of there. You have to have your stuff together, man, and know your kitchen, and know your floor plan, know your workflow. But when you're working lunch, man, you got, because I got to get to you, unless you're parked outside my job, I got to get to you, I got to order, I got to wait, I got to get the food. I'm probably not going to eat on the spot. I'm probably going to take it back to work. I got to get back to work. I got to eat. And I got to, like, I don't want to be, nobody wants to really be shoving. So it's tight. It's tight. I went to a lot of locations where people Well, I went to a lot of locations where I was at people's jobs or whatever, but even still, they gotta get out. They gotta get up from their desk or whatever, walk down there, wait in line, order food, get it, go back upstairs, sit down. And my food, I served my food hot, man. Like my food was hot, so they had to give it a few seconds. I mean, you gotta take all this stuff into account. The customer experience, this all goes into the customer experience, and they grade you on that, right? They grade you on that. They want you to come back, but it's because you gave a great experience. It's not because necessarily your food was so amazing. It's your food probably is not going to be that amazing, but your customer experience can. And your food could be unique, but depending on the energy of the transaction, man, they just want you to take care of them. They just want you to be nice, and they want to be in and out. When you go to a sit down restaurant, you know that you're about to spend some time there because you know that. We're coming, we got the hostess, we're gonna sit down. It takes however long for the server to get there, take your order. You know you're spending like over an hour at this place. You know that. You're prepared for that. When I'm standing in line outside of at a food truck outside, and don't let the weather be bad, but when I'm standing in that line, man, I'm trying to get in and out that line and sit down and start eating. Understand that. It goes into the experience. I'm gonna have full videos about customer experience because it really is a big deal. It's not your food. Your food's really probably not going to be that big of a deal. They're coming back because of you and how you treated them and what you said to them and what they remember. And they want their people to come back to experience the same thing. They're coming back because of you. Your food got to be super amazing to come back because of the food. They're going to remember they're going to remember that experience. Odds are that food is going to be second or third or fourth down the list. They're coming back because of that experience. So give them the experience. So I'm going to hop out of here. Like I said, unless anybody has any questions, I'm going to hop out of here. But I just wanted to, like I said, the pros and cons aren't. I gave you the 6 just because, you know, I don't want to sit here and badger you over questions, but like, you are different. You are unique. What you do is what you're going to do. And there's nobody else that's going to do what you're going to do. Nobody. Anywhere in the world. What you're going to do is what you're going to do. So you need to think about you and quit thinking about everybody else and focus on you. This goes across all forms of business. Like, this is just not about food. I talk this stuff about food, man, but this is all business, man. Like, you focus on you. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Focus on you. What questions do you need for you? Don't worry about who's selling what and wherever. Just be efficient, give a good customer experience, give the best food you can, and be organized, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So I'm gonna put this up. This is being recorded. I'm gonna post it in case anybody needs to come back after this. And like I said, I'm thinking about like I said, Monday and Thursday, but Mondays for sure the same time every Monday. And I have a Facebook group that I'll post somewhere in here. I've had it, but I've just been so busy with a lot of other stuff, but I'm just getting it going today. I apologize to those people in the group earlier today. So we're gonna I'm gonna see if I can go live, maybe both groups at the same time. I don't know, but you guys have a good night. We're gonna get out of here, and I will see you next week. Appreciate it.